to be so good.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Magnify. My name is Legendary.
And I am the chosen one.
And we are from the rap group U.H.G. If you don't know about it, go look about it.
Yes, sir.
You can see it right there. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I digress. This podcast, for those who are new and just first time logging in, Magnify is a podcast where we bring on different people from different walks of life and different walks with God. And they're going to share their journey on how they navigated to get where they are, or how they came to the conclusion that, okay, this is something that God has called me to do, has called me to share with you guys, whether it's playing an instrument, whether it's singing, whether it's rapping, whether it's getting up every Sunday in front of an audience sharing the Word of God. It doesn't matter what it is. Art, dancing. If God has put a passion in you and you're doing this for God, we want to know about it, and we want to share that with you guys, just in case you have the same walk in life and you're not sure what to do next or how to go about doing things next, and there's certain things that might be standing in your way, and how can you get over certain hurdles that are slowing you down from doing what God has called you to do. All right, whether that's from being a painter, you know what I'm saying, or for dancing, you know what I'm saying. If you're doing this to glorify God, that's what we want to know, and that is what we're here to share.
Absolutely.
With everybody.
Absolutely. And this first guest that we have to start this episode, I feel like, first of all, no matter who's up here, we'll be speaking to everyone. But not only will we have men on here, we have women on here. These are women of God, men of God, who will be opening up and sharing with you their journey on where they are and where they're going and the things that they've been through. So, fellas, if you see a female on here, don't skip past the video because you think she's going to be talking about female stuff. Ladies, if you see a male on here, you like, I don't want to tune in because I feel like he might be just talking about, no, this is for all artists. Like he said, across the board, whether you sing, dance, whatever it is, preach, you evangelize, you do outreach, whatever it is that God has called you to do, that you feel God is calling you to do, and you like, where do I even begin? That's what this podcast is. We're going to, these artists and these men of God and these women of God that we will be bringing on here, we will be magnifying and shining light on the good, the bad, the ugly. Because it ain't all roses with this walk and following God and stuff like that. It gets hard, it gets dark, it gets spooky, it gets scary. But at the same time, it's impactful. It is beautiful. It is amazing. It is powerful to see changes in people's lives and in your life and in your family lives because you are doing what God is calling y'all to do. So this first guest, I'm telling you, man, I'm excited. You know what? You introduce her because I'm too excited. Just go ahead.
So our first guest is a young lady we had the privilege to meet so many years ago.
Yes.
Like back in high school.
Yes.
Back when I was just wilding out, and to see where she was then and to see where she's going now is simply amazing.
Yes. She's not just a friend; she's a sister to us. Like, there's a brother and sister relationship that we have with her.
Absolutely. And so let me introduce to some and present to others.
Okay, come on,
All
Reverend.
right.
All right.
Paris.
Uh huh.
I said Paris. Patton.
Woo! Being on stage for your first time, because I know as an artist, like for me, it's cool recording. It's good to be in the studio. It's good to be writing, making new music. But it's something about that stage for me. Like I'm nervous before I get up there, but once I'm on that stage and that beat drop, it's like it's a whole different animal that comes out of me, and like when I first performed my first time, I was nervous and I was scared. But after that, I was like, when will be my next show? Because I'm ready to get back on stage, whether I got new
Yeah, like
music or not. I would sing
Right.
this same song a million times just so I could get back on stage. So how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you think you might caught that stage bug?
so it's sort of like bittersweet for me because I totally disassociated the whole time I was on stage. Like my brain blacked out and I don't even remember the performance for the most part. I had a lot of sound issues, and so I was guessing the whole time. So in the moment, I truly believed it was the last time I was going to ever do this. I mean, largely because I'm like the pressure is so tense. Everybody's looking at me, and so like for me, the pressure didn't seem that worth it.
Mm.
And but when it was all said and done, I would be honest that it wasn't more the stage for me that was the impactful part, but it was the people touches afterwards that really got a better part of who I am. Like, I'm hugely evangelistic at heart, so
Yeah.
I'm more hands on than I am like out in the spotlight with people. So I love to connect with people on a very intimate level. And so, shockingly, like it's sort of weird to kind of and sort of surreal at the same time because the outpouring of support of people that came up to me afterwards that were because I also did now I was also a speaker, so like I spoke prior to my performance,
Okay.
and so only a snippet of it was recorded on the live. So I think they have a DVD of some sort that they're trying to comprise of the entire conference. But my friend, she went live, and I guess I was the only person she did so for. So everyone that was able to see it, they were able to see just a snippet. So I guess largely it was after the fact that I was able to be more impacted because performing, like I'm so like shy in that regard. Like I'm still trying to figure out like who I want to be when I grow up. That like exposing myself before like a bunch of people for the purpose of them potentially judging me or
Right.
critiquing like every angle of who I am is somewhat intimidating.
Absolutely.
But I would say that now that I got it out of my system, I'm glad that I did it because I feel like I did it anyways. Even though I was afraid, I thought I would like blow the whole thing. And I thought, because I was so afraid, I was getting sick to my stomach. I'm like, who does this like willfully? Like, how do you get over this? And after talking to Phil, because he had told me that he had seen it, I was like, how? How did you see it? And he was just like, because Rashida went live, and I was like, I'm so mad. Like, why would she go live? And he's just like, no, it was good. You did a good job. And I was just like, no, it was terrible. It was the worst of the worst. And he's just like, no, I wouldn't have even posted it if it was that bad. Like, I would have shared it with his family. But no, I was really proud of you, like, because I know you were afraid. I know you were uncomfortable, but you did it anyways. I was like terrified. It's more along the lines of what I was. And when I kind of like me and him talked about it, I asked him, I said, how do you get over it? I mean, like you've been doing this since you were like 13. Like how do you consistently get on a stage before people and like, just expose yourself like for all kinds of judgment. He said
Yeah.
he still gets afraid, but he does it
Absolutely.
anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that that's okay. It's okay to be afraid and it's okay to expose yourself to the vulnerability of performance, because that's what makes it art.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm glad I did it because it proved more something to myself than I did anything else. Not that I could sing good or play good, but just that in my own nature, like my own personality type, where I would typically run and hide from something like this, I did it anyways. And I didn't do it on my own. I really trusted in God to really take over. I begged him. I said, Lord, please, please, I know it's got to be you. Otherwise, it is going to fail miserably. So I'm just grateful that God was present, that I feel that people that heard what I had to say were really actually moved. And that, I guess for me, that was the biggest impact for myself, because I got to actually influence other people according to what I believe biblically as Christians we are to do. And that's to be the hands and feet of Christ, to bear our souls, to show the hidden parts of who we are, even the fragile parts that we want to hide from, so that people know that that they're not only like that. Sometimes I feel like a lot of me, I feel like sometimes alone, and that I deal with things like I'm the only one dealing with them. But after people came up to me and spoke to me and encouraged me, they're like, you touched me because I was going through the same thing. And the words of your song really moved my heart. And I'm so glad that you shared that with me. So that was like, really? Like, you didn't hate me?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, that
Especially,
was the biggest part. I appreciate it.
yeah, especially when we got started, I had to realize like a lot of my struggles. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of our songs have to do with situations that we done been through, we're going through, and I had to get to that point where, all right, like I know it's not just me going through these things, even though at the moment I feel like it's just me going through these things, and you know what I'm saying. Ain't
Right.
nobody else, don't nobody else know what I feel like. But you know what I'm saying, you
Right.
gotta get to a point where like obviously there's like billions of people on this planet. You're not the only one going through this, and being able
Right.
to then add that to my music, because if I can make it through it, then me telling my story can help somebody else. Then make it through it, and having the confidence to even tell my story. Because
That
starting
part.
off, I am a right. I am a very shy person. Like a lot of people look at me
Yeah.
like, no, I don't see it. But no, like growing up, like I am extremely shy, and being able to find ways to break that shyness, especially when I'm on stage. Because when I first started off, I really didn't talk much. It was just we did our thing and we left. And then especially
Right.
after meeting Phil, and then seeing how Phil puts on the performance, that just changed your mind totally. Like, okay, I got to step my game up, and being able to just like find ways to make myself uncomfortable enough to build courage enough to kind of break my shyness. So understand, when you first starting off and like that, man, Jesus take the wheel for real type feeling.
Please, God.
Like it is real. It is real.
Absolutely. And
Decrease me, Lord.
like
Right.
I come to realize no matter if it's 5 or 5,000 people, the butterflies, the sweats, the I need to take a nap feel is always there. But that's when I know that I have to rely on God. And I feel like within
Right.
in your fear and your nervousness is where you can let go and really let God showcase his talent in you.
Right.
And like
Amen.
that right there can impact a crowd no matter who it is. No matter who it is, no matter
Right.
who's out there or anything, because that's God's word that's flowing through you,
Amen.
and so like no matter what it is, like okay, I'm nervous, but God, now I know when I get out here, I'm relying solely on you. I am no longer in this because I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be on this stage right
Right.
now. So Lord, by any means, have your way. Have your way, and that is amazing because that's what it's all about. It's about getting your music or your passion or whatever your gift is and helping that next person cross that bridge with you, or if they not even there yet, can see it and be like, okay, I can go a different way. There's a different way of
That
me
part.
handling it, and like I might not be where you at, but I am approaching where you at.
Right.
And you know what I mean? But because you said this and you did this at this moment of my life, I was about to go get in the car with some homies and do a drive by. But because of this song I heard before I
Right.
did it, it turned me this way. And like once you get into that mindset of knowing that, like how he said, that this is bigger than me and bigger than what I'm dealing with and my frustrations and the obstacle that I'm facing, and I'm knowing that, okay, by me putting this out and by me being vulnerable, by me opening up, is helping someone else open up or don't have to go through what I went through.
Right. Exactly. That's can't put it into better words. Yes.
So, with this being your first performance, because we talked over over Facebook about the interview and everything, for people who are starting off and not really sure like how to go about doing music, or what I'm saying, was like, because you have been that background person, what I'm saying, that likes to,
Mm-hmm.
that don't really, what I'm saying, get out into the spotlight that much,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and what I'm saying, like you said, then you have your kids, what I'm saying, you got your kids you got to take care of. Like, at what point, or how do you decide that, okay, I gotta, that yes, I'm a mom, yes, I'm a wife, but God has also put something in me to do on this earth, and I have this talent to be able to sing and play the guitar. Like, at what point do you just, or how do you go about taking that next step of being that person that you feel that God has called you to do, or that He might be calling you to do?
So for me, I would say that that because, like you said, I've always been pretty supportive of like Philip and him going out to, whether it's rapping or speaking or just going to work in corporate America. Like, that requires a lot of my support, just specifically because, like you said, I have to support our family in the background, and I've been okay with that for such a long time that it became like just normal. I would say that I've been okay with always doing that, and all the while trying to still figure out identity. I know, like, Phil has always been hugely supportive. I can't thank God for a better husband, because not many women can say that their husband always is trying to better make them better.
Yes.
But he is. He's always asking me questions about things about, like, what do I like, what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I know that you're a wife and a mom, but you're more than that. So before you were ever a wife and mother, who were you? And I think because roles become largely the focus of our adult life,
Right.
we can kind of get lost in those roles.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was kind of like in that. I won't say lost, because I don't think having to be a wife and a mother is losing yourself. But I don't know if I prioritized me as much as I probably should have during that season in my life over the last, like, my kids are Zoe's like 17 years old. So like for 17 years, just grinding and making sure that our kids have the things that they need for a supportive family life. 2 years ago, though, I came to a point, like a fork in the road. And I was just very, very unhappy with life. And there was nothing that could satisfy me, like, quite literally, not a house, not comfort, not money, like, not even my family, honestly. And at that point in time, I really just felt like, God, who am I? Because no matter what I strive towards, I feel empty. You know what I mean? I would say largely I base that on not knowing myself at the time. And I think that was part of the issue, but it was bigger than just not knowing me. I think larger than that is I didn't really know the God that made me as well as I thought I did.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I've always been a Christian since I was 8 years old, but I don't know if I really took the time to peel back the layers beyond the legalism and the traditions of
Right.
man to really understand the God that made me as an image bearer. And in those 2 years, I would say COVID probably unveiled a lot of who we were, you know what I mean, while you
Right,
had all this time to think, you know what I mean? So it was like hitting me dead smack in the face on a daily basis that I just didn't know who I was. And that the roles that I had couldn't just only fulfill me. So when I kind of came to that point, it was dark. I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't like a crux in the road. It was, for me, it was terrifying because I didn't get how much longer I could go in this life feeling that way.
Right.
And then I started dealing with some mental health issues, and suicidal thoughts started coming to the forefront of my mind, and I was uncertain how to handle those things. So at that moment in time, I really feel God was drawing me to himself, and he'll use the darkness sometimes to bring you forth, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for the dark because it's how I was made. And so even though when I look back at the time, I wasn't grateful, I was very sad and very miserable. Now I realize that sometimes God uses that wilderness season in our lives to kind of to show us his glory and show us how faithful he is, how he's a pursuer of his kids. So in that season of time, we had moved back to Ohio. We were in Texas for 5 years, and we moved back to Ohio for a year. And we're back in Texas now, thank God. But at the time, we were in Ohio. And I call this like my tomb season, where God brought me back to Ohio to kill me. You know what I mean? And it was to die to the things that I thought that I wanted to be, like careers that weren't realized by that point, time frames and constraints that I was so married to. Like if I didn't get things done by a certain time with this career path or that I just wasn't enough. You know what I mean? So I was dealing with a lot of inadequacy issues. And during that season, I really believed that God was bringing me to learn more about him. And before he ever showed me pears, before he ever started peeling back this little layered onion of myself, he really took me to his scripture, to the scriptures. And I really began unpacking the scriptures in a way that I never had. And so I would never say that I was a consumer of the Bible in such a way to where I wanted to read the whole thing. But this was like the first time I'm just like, I'm so like miserable. I need to know like everything about you. And I just got really deep, started reading the Bible front cover to cover. And when I read it, it revealed more about the nature of God and how beautiful he is. And the story that we read that largely becomes commercialized in church wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about my dreams, my aspirations, my desires. It was more about a good God that wanted to spare us from himself. So he sent his son and incarnated himself so that we would know who we were, to bear his image on this earth, to become exactly who we were called to be.
Yeah.
And during that season, it was unique because I was starting to garden. And one of the things about gardening that I never took an interest into was that a seed is it knows exactly what it's going to become when it goes in the ground. And I was astounded by that because I had never gardened before, but COVID,
Right.
And so I started meeting God in my garden, which was interesting because a large portions of the scriptures are central to gardens. Like it's always gardens that you see, the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Gethsemane. There's always gardens that God seems to be really talking about his creation. And I'm sorry, I think my Bluetooth Phil took the car, so I just connected to the Bluetooth. So my apologies. I'm not sure what you could hear or not, but
yeah. So we can hear you. Can you hear us now?
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Okay, so I'm not sure where I got cut off exactly, but I'll go back to is gardening. So gardening for me became a discipline of mine, and watching things become exactly what they were meant to be was astounding. So when I planted corn, it became corn. If I planted lavender, it literally looked like the picture on the little package and stuff.
Right.
I thought that was beautiful, but it caused me to really ask myself a larger question, like, God, you have these seeds that are somewhat inanimate, and yet they know exactly what their intention and their calling is. Like they know exactly when they go in the ground what they're supposed to be. And here I am, made in your image, and I'm struggling. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know if you made me to be this confused about who I am. So I started asking him about who I am, and how I came to that point was in prayer and in devotion. And then that's when I started writing music, because in the music that I was writing, it was more a prayer, of how I came to this point and where God was taking me, and how far I had come and how far I thought I had, like, come away from the Lord, but really He was actually leading me right to this place. Like, I think
Right.
sometimes we find ourselves in dark places and think it's by our own doing, although, yeah, sometimes it is. I think He is the one that leads our path, like, He orders our steps. So He was leading me to this really small, like, remote place in life where it was just me and Him. I didn't have any more people to compete with, no more career aspirations, nothing to really take my attention. But what was the most thing that I was so, like, mesmerized, it was His beauty. And so I started writing about those things. And beyond that, worship. He would wake me up at 5 in the morning, and I would just spend my mornings every morning, no matter how tired I was. Ping, my eyes pop open, and God be like, "Come on, you know what I'm saying? Let's get
Right.
to it." And I found that maximizing my time and by spending time with Him with the intention to give Him my first fruits, I started coming away with more than I needed, like, to be able to serve my home, to serve my husband, my kids, to get things done and accomplished throughout the day, and still have time for the things I want to focus in on. So that period of time really was pivotal for my development. And I still was uncertain. What I believe God was showing me in that time is total and utter dependency on Him, like, not on, like, this preconceived idea of my dreams being made realized, you know what I mean, but more or less knowing that He's the God that made me. He made me exactly how I am for a reason. So all the things that I wrestle with inadequacy issues, self-esteem, confidence issues, those things didn't really matter as much as my obedience did. And
Right.
so He was starting to already tell me to do certain things, and I was scared even then. I'm like, no, God, I don't feel like it. Like, I don't really want to, publicly sing for anyone. I don't really want to write music for others. I was okay with writing music and write as a songwriter and giving to other people to sing. But I felt like that wasn't what He was asking of me. So one of my first videos was me was based on Psalms 139, and it largely was central to where my prayer was. Is, you, God, you search me and you know me well, and you know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive me, my thoughts from afar, and you know my coming out and laying down. Like, God, you know everything about who I am, and so I can trust in that.
Right.
And so no matter where I go or what I do or where I find myself, whether it is singing music or being a mom, I'm going to always be exactly where you have called me to be, just as long as I'm trusting in you
Absolutely.
to lead me and order my steps. So I would say for those that are probably starting out, especially people faith that are looking to find identity, I wouldn't say find identity in money. I wouldn't say find identity in what's most popular. I would say find what makes your heart beat and just do that. And I think that God always finds a way to put you on the path that you're supposed to go. And He is the one that opens the doors, and He's the one that closes those doors. And sometimes we call the devil, but sometimes
Yeah.
it is He that is the one shutting those doors so
Right.
that you can walk through the right one. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so
Absolutely.
just trusting the process, trusting that that you don't need to manipulate God. You don't need to convince Him that if you do this, I'll do this for you. Like, just trusting in the God that made you, I think will bring you to ultimately knowing who you are in an identifiable state. And so, whoever you are called to in purpose to be, you know that you're not late. You're, like, right on time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And then about
The door, I feel like a lot of people, focus on the fact
that, oh, God opened doors. And
right.
I don't remember what song it was that I said that, He closes doors. because I feel like we forget that he closes doors. And like we're so focused
He does.
on God opening all of these doors, like open the doors for me, God. But he also closes doors. And I feel like people are so focused on him opening them that, you know what I'm saying, they forget that he also are the ones that's closing it. And it's like, oh, it's the devil trying to
Right.
mess up my life. It's not. It's God closing his door because what's behind it is messing up your life. And I feel like we
Right.
sometimes forget that God do close doors.
And like we get so, like you said, we get caught up in life. So if God opened up every door and we just like it's like if you got a green light every time you driving, you just keep driving, you're gonna just keep driving. You're not gonna stop, you're not gonna look around, you're not gonna be aware of what's going on around you, you're not gonna know where you at that moment. You gonna just look up and be like, how did I get here? But sometimes God closes that
Right.
door for you to be like, okay, stop, slow down, let me speak to you, listen,
Right.
Right.
and you know what I mean, slow
Listen.
down. This is, you know what I mean, you moving a little too fast. Cause then we begin to
Hmm.
rely on us. Cause we think like, okay, this is given. It's supposed to be open. I'm a child of God. This door is supposed to be open. What you mean is not? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like this is what it's supposed to be.
Right.
He's supposed to open up every door. The devil is a lie.
Right.
You open it. You know what I mean? This door will be open. But God be like, no, let me close this one. Sit you down for a minute. But not to sit you as a punishment. But let's
Right.
let's let's take in what's happening. Let's not
That
forget
part.
why we're here. And like you was preaching, first of all, I want to get that out here. You was preaching. Okay, the seeds and the planting, that right there would tear a church up. I might do a couple laps off of that because that metaphor right there is so powerful that, like you said, these seeds know their purpose, and no matter what, that seed might want to be a lemon tree, but it's an orange tree. But it was like I would, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
He knows that he gotta be an orange tree in order to produce the fruit that it was made to produce. And so many
That part.
times we get caught up with looking at what the other artist is doing, what this person is doing.
Yep.
Why am I not moving this fast? Why am it not happening for me? I've been doing this for 15 plus years. Why is my song isn't on the
Right.
radio? And it's like God is like, I'm not, you're not there yet. Because sometimes we might not be there yet spiritually. To the point where if we get there, we don't know what to
Right.
do once we get there. And we might mess up
That part.
the blessing trying to rush into something that God like, no, wait, this is a slow cooker. Quit going into the
Is
microwave. Quit going into the
it?
oven. Let me slow cook you. The flavor is going to be better
Mhm.
when I slow cook you. Just know that when that
That
time is
part.
done and you hear that ding, oh, it's going to be your time and stuff
That
like
part.
that. So like that moment of silence. Like I've been listening to a song called so I forgot about the artist and I apologize because this is one of my favorite songs. But he speak about that. Like maybe are you really speaking in this silence? And you're moving in this silence.
Mm.
So if I can just calm myself and just listen instead of talking and quick to move this way and move this way and try to make and move chess pieces around to move this way and just stop and analyze and see what God is doing, it would like you know what I mean? Like that vision, that purpose will make itself clearer to you in due
It
time.
will. Patience
Absolutely.
is the key.
Yes. Yes. Trust in the process.
The
Absolutely.
process. Yes.
Absolutely.
So another question that
Sure.
was on my heart and I want to ask and is can you be bigger than where you're at? Whether it's with like no support system, um, financially, um, can you be bigger than what your situation is? Whether whatever the issue is, you might come from, you might be homeless, but can you
Mhm.
be bigger than where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that anybody can really achieve wherever they're disciplined and consistent at. I think largely the key to the game is consistency. I don't think anyone comes into this world. I mean, maybe a few. And you got prodigies every once and again. They have like the knack to be, excellent musicians, writers, genius, status types of folk, but largely the majority of us are average folk that need practice, time, grace, and consistency. I'm of the belief that anyone can sing and play an instrument if you give it enough time and consistent dedication to whatever it is you're doing. I think it's beautiful when you have the courage, but you don't have the skill. I
Yeah.
admire some folk that literally do it and they're not that good. They have something I don't have, which is just gall. Like they got this boldness that I just don't have. So sometimes they blaze trails faster than people that actually have skill. You know what I mean? Like natural born skill because they're consistent at least, and they are bold enough to put themselves out there. But I
Right.
think when it comes to like the art of being a musician, or even if the goal is to be a big one, so like candidly for myself, I don't know if I have a goal. I think where I am right now is one day at a time, one step at a time, seeing what happens, seeing what it is that I want. I don't want largely my music to be commodified to the degree that I hate it.
Right.
I come from a background where I'm fully aware of how useful I am as a as something that can be commodified because I used to do like promotional work and modeling when I was a little younger, and I hated it because I'm only as useful as I am useful to you,
Right.
to the brand or something like that. And when no longer that becomes a need because you don't fit the market, then you're very you're able to be thrown away. So for me, I have a love hate when it comes to the music industry because I know that music for me is art, music for me is sacred. And a lot of my music is strictly scripture because I pulled a lot of the lyrics from like songs that I've written from the scriptures that I wanted to hear, to put more attention on the God that I was worshiping and not me, because I find that worship music and music in general that's in the Christian sector is business and not real worship sometimes.
Right.
And I was hard pressed to hear music that was God focused and God honoring and not very central to my breakthrough, me winning all the time. Like I can talk enough about myself, I don't need to, but when I'm in desperate need to have something that's bigger than me, I need to focus all of my attention, all of my worship on the God that made me. So when it comes to the music, like I said, I've seen it. Music is for profit, even in Christian music, because of course I see it on the rap and hip hop CHA side. I've watched Phil, do music for a long time, and I can see how it is in hip hop. But I also see it on the other side when it comes to Christian worship and stuff like that. It's still for profit. Largely, a lot of times, artists aren't even Christian by belief system. They just have been able to capitalize off a demographic of their audience
Yeah.
Right.
to niche themselves and become successful. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm a little different in that, and that's what makes me kind of like uncertain because um, I don't necessarily care about the size of influence as much as I care about the impactfulness, and the part where I honor God with what I'm doing, because I don't necessarily care about the reach as much as I care about the heart of the person that's listening.
Right.
So if it's about a numbers thing, like count me out. I am not a marketer genius. I don't know how to do that, but I do understand it enough to know that social media is a huge tool. Consistency of niching your market, knowing who you are, who you're speaking to is big and very important to be able to reach others. And know that you're not for everybody.
Right.
I know that in terms of marketing strategy, you have to be very clear on your goal and you have to do it with intentionality. So if the goal is to be big, then I would say be consistent about your marketing, be consistent about your ability to interface with other people, and be okay with constant rejection. Not being too emotional about the process, because I think that's where a lot of people tend to find themselves, because music for them is sacred, and as artists we want people to love what we do, and when they don't, then we want to take it personally. But know that that music is not for the music you make. It may not be for everybody. It may not be something that everybody wants to eat. So the way I look at it is, if you are going to be a person that wants to reach for like fame and stardom, then just do those things and do it well. But for me, as it is for me and Pierce alone, my goal is simply to take it one day at a time and see what happens as a result of consistency. I know that it's a love hate for me, because I feel that social media is an essential portion of this. And yet I hate social media at the same
Right.
time. It's a very superficial like medium, and I know it's essential for success. So I'm still trying to weigh the pros and the cons of how involved I want to be. My kids are really the ones that are trying to root me on and trying to help me to better position my awareness of how to utilize the mediums to my advantage. And got Zoe, that my oldest, she wants to be the kid behind the scenes, is helping me to do those kinds of things and giving me ideas, and it's just like it's zoning me out. I'm not gonna hold you, but I know that if that's the goal, that's why I have to be real clear on what my goal is, so that I don't ruin my love for something that I find sacred.
Right.
So right now I'm just taking it one day at a time. Hopefully, in like 6 months, I might be different. I might know better. I'm gonna start right now with, like I said, a 3 to 4 song project. Get those out. I know Phil and I have talked about maybe just releasing all the songs as singles and see what happens with that. But I do know that in order for me to do that, I'm gonna have to leverage social media largely, because that's where everybody is. If I want
Right.
someone to listen to the music that I write, and then also to get yourself out there into the public. You got a lot of open mic opportunities, different like events that are happening around the cities that you probably live in that you may not be aware of. Just show up
Mm.
and see if you can be on the ticket, or show up and see if you can just put yourself out there. And I know here in Dallas, that's huge. Like, and so I'm a little timid when it comes to putting myself out here in the music scene in Dallas, because I'm like one in a drop of millions of people that are doing music here in
Right.
the city. So it's a bit intimidating, but I don't know if that's the goal just yet. So I'm just taking it one day at a time.
Okay, that's yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, I have one more, and it is: what are some things you face while navigating your gift? What are like some,
Some things.
yeah, some some obstacles, some while navigating this, like you said, this journey that God is having me on. What are some things you face that might have made you, what I mean, like double step back, or it might have was more fuel than anything?
So, a couple things. I got a list. I don't think y'all got time for the list today, but if I were to kind of, highlight some things that I know that are always there. Inadequacy is huge for me. I come from a background where, and be feeling adequate is not like a fruit of the spirit for me. So, being kind to myself first starts with loving me and seeing myself as God has made me, and not having to be so critical. of myself to where I pick myself apart. And I do that all the time. So therapy, okay, that's first, going to therapy and being consistent with therapy, one. Apart from that, um, finding opportunities to put myself out there and be courageous, because I'm courageous about a lot, but music is not one of them. You know what I mean? Artistry is it's not one of them. So I bump up against boldness and courage, and taking courage not in my own ability. Like I said earlier, it's not me that I want to be seen. I have no other desire, to be honest, than to be able to show others about the God that revealed himself as he's already revealed himself in scripture. And then it made me come alive. So I believe it's the key. So biblical literacy for me was hugely keen to come into this point. But I know for myself, I'm always bump up against this imposter syndrome, like always never feeling like, I'm good enough, never feeling like what I did was good enough. I write music and I throw it away all the time. I'll record it and I hate my voice. So, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I'm still wrestling through. So accepting the imperfections, like knowing that I will never be perfect, knowing that I will face judgment and critique, and being comfortable with discomfort. You know what I mean? Because I'm introverted, and so being introverted, extroverted, depending on if I know you well enough, it's hard because interfacing with people is a real wrestle of mine. I may appear speaking to me that I'm very comfortable, but in the background of my mind, I'm like, this is a lot. So I hope that I'm impacting others in a positive way. I hope I'm saying the right things. I hope I'm doing the right things. Being also a person that stands with integrity. Like I want what you hear is what you see. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I think it's very difficult to keep up a facade for others. So I feel that eventually those things will find fractures in who you are. So being consistent in front of people and consistent behind the scenes is important to me. So remaining myself, I feel like I cannot betray myself. So finding those spaces and how to navigate them has been a very difficult process, but I think doing it more often and more regularly has been helpful, because it's allowed me to just get beyond the barriers of my own limitations. So putting myself out there, and being okay with the imperfections and just accepting me as God made me is pretty much where I am. So I bump up against these things, and I'm sure other people do as well. But I'm hard on me, and I'm trying to do better with that, because I don't think that's what God would have for any of us, is to be critical of how He made us in particular. So yeah, that's kind of like the things that I wrestle with. So
Listen, man, I could I could talk to you for hours on this conversation. This was amazing conversation. This was amazing dialogues. What are places where they can follow you at? Because I feel like
well, right now you said like what places.
yes.
Right now I don't have like a website or anything to share. You can follow me on social media on Instagram, Patton 3 and 1. I have a budding music page that I'm attempting to grow more towards less personal, more music related. So that'll be coming out a bit more regularly, where I'll be posting more consistent content of like just like acoustic, songs that I've written and things of that sort, covers and stuff of that sort on Instagram. I have Facebook under Paris Patton, Pattin, not On. And I do have a TikTok, which is very strange for me because I haven't posted a singular one yet. But my kids tell me that's where I should find myself soon enough. But we'll see. We'll see how that kind of materializes over time. But it
Right.
was a pleasure talking to you guys, Reese, Christian. I always enjoy talking with you guys for years, and thank you for the opportunity, and just thank you for thinking of me.
Oh,
So
no
yeah, I was
problem.
appreciative.
Cause you more than a friend. You are a sister to us. Um,
Sure.
we love y'all, and Like,
For
make sure y'all
sure.
go
Let me
follow
guys
her,
see.
cause I like the message she has is impactful. Is impactful.
Oh, man.
The thing she talked about today was impactful. I see a book in you. Like, there's like your testimony, your journey, your story, um, just your heart all around for the heart of worship, the heart of seeing people impacted, seeing people empowered is amazing. And I feel like that's the reason why we're here at the end of the day. Like, yes, we love our music. Yes, we love to perform. Yes, we love to do this. But at the end of the day, if we're not impacting, if we're not changing, if we're not building the kingdom of God, then what are we really here for?
Right.
And I
What?
feel like they got
Man.
that today. They got that from you. I got a lot from you. I'm just I'm I want to be a fly on the wall in your life, and I just want to sit back, root you on. Um, I'm most definitely about to hop back on social media because I want to see these videos of you playing and singing and stuff like that. So when my brother told me that you was playing and singing, I was blown away. I was blown away. I was like, it
Thank
gotta be
you.
somebody else that has her same name that's out here because I haven't seen her on stage before. So I'm just like, wherever God is sending you, wherever God is taking you, man, we pray for His many blessings, His hands on you, His
Thank you.
protection on you, and we just here to encourage you and
Thank
root
you.
you on, and whatever direction God has you in, just know that you can always come back on this podcast and express yourself.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you do want to watch the full episodes, the full interview, the links are in the description below. It is playing on all the podcast channels, all the popular ones at least. Spotify, Apple, Amazon. You can check it out on there. The link for our website is in the description if you want to know more about what it is that we do and what it is that we offer. So I encourage you guys to check that out. I want to thank you guys for watching the entire video and supporting this channel. I would like to thank the Empowerment Center of Toledo, Ohio, which allowed us to utilize this room that you see here to be able to shoot our podcast in. I appreciate that very, very much. If you've never heard of the Empowerment Center, feel free to check them out. I'll leave their description as far as their website in the description below if you want to check those out. And of course, U.H.G, which is the music group that me and my brother are a part of. A lot of the equipment came from there, from our studio for now. But I just want to thank you guys. Stay tuned. We got more interviews coming. If you guys have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Feel free to go to our website. You can message us. You can email us. Whatever, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your habits are, your hobbies that you like to indulge in on your free time. Feel free to just leave us, leave a message if you want to chat. We can chat. And we just go keep going. We're going to keep going. We'll keep doing our music, obviously. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to stop doing our music, but we do appreciate you guys for tuning in to our podcast, Magnify. And I really, really appreciate that. So, yeah, feel free. Browse the description down below. You'll have tons of links to different websites, to our website, and different places where you can find the full length and the full episode of this podcast and all the future ones. All right, man. Y'all have a blessed day.